What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with Joe's Kwame Fisher-Jones. As always, I am him. And when I'm talking NFL, I'm joined by NJ.com general assignment reporter Chris Franklin. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, doing well, man. The off season's upon us, man. How are you
Is
doing?
it off season? It seems like you're just as busy as when it's normal season.
Yes, I miss games. I already miss games. I miss practices because the whole he said. So,
But this
oh,
is the misdirection season for this is lying season, I guess is the
lying
best way to
season.
put it.
Yep.
Lying season. So before we get started into the Eagles, and lying season with other teams. Interestingly enough, usually the franchise tag, it's always who gets tagged. You want to talk about like guys like T. Higgins gets tagged, and the Cowboys decided rather than tag their guard, they signed him. But an interesting name, man. It was two interesting names managed to not get tagged. One is a quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, Sam Darnold, managed to not only not get tagged, but they're encouraging him to go out and see what the market is offering. And then another one that was kind of just, I've been keeping an eye on because the whole situation seemed peculiar to me from the onset. Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick didn't get tagged. He's free to be a free agent, free to be a free agent. He's encouraging to be a free agent. And all signs point to him going to Chicago, of all places, which I'm curious about that. But let's start with Darnold. What are you hearing? Why wasn't he tagged? What's the logic there?
Well, the thing with the tag is when it comes to Darnold is that the Vikings have so many needs in the free agency, and even other guys need to sign. When you look at their defense, the defensive line, you look at their secondary, they need that. Especially even though Ben Johnson, he's gonna say even though Ben Johnson is elsewhere and living and stuff. Like he's out the division, even though he's still in the division, he's not with the Lions anymore. He still knows how to beat that team and cut them apart. So they need all the defense they can get. And if you lost Sam Darnold, if you signed Sam Darnold and tagged him, you lost a significant part of your cap space. So you can't sign a lot of those guys back. So the thinking's going to be, at least for them, go see if you can get that big deal. They want them back at they want him back at their number. But if you can't get that big deal, oh, don't worry about it. Well, thank you very much for services. Meanwhile, they're going, hey, and I know this is going to sound like, ugh. Meanwhile, they can go to Daniel Jones and they have JJ McCarthy waiting in the
Yeah.
wings and see how well he does. And then, oh yeah, if somebody does pay him that big amount of money for Darnold, they get the comp pick for 2026. And if it's an average, and quarterbacks, we know how they get paid. If you're looking at an average annual value of a high one, like one of the highest contracts, they're going to get a third round comp pick in 2026. So they're probably like, oh, go sign for as much money as you want to. Yeah. Thank you very much for your services. We'll pocket that too.
Um, I'm curious about where Darnold's going to wind up. And the reason why I asked that question is there's a team that's picking in the top three. The highest rated quarterback, correct me if I'm wrong, the highest rated quarterbacks happen to all have melanin. So we know that team isn't going to draft one of those quarterbacks. They can't reach again after Daniel Jones fiasco. So would it be? We heard Aaron Rodgers is supposed to be rumored to go to the Giants. I'm one of the few people that actually believes in the Giants' plan and think that they have a solid plan. Is Sam Darnold going to pop up on a New York Giants roster this off season or this season,
I
upcoming
don't.
season?
I, I don't think so. I think the Giants are really all very, very much into the Aaron Rodgers race. I think they're well, it's
Makes
not really a
sense.
race because he's probably gonna be the only one.
Yeah,
Probably one of
yeah.
the two reaching out. But yeah, you think you look at his Darnold. I wonder if he's going to have PTSD going back to MetLife. But overall, I really think the Giants will look at either the Giants are in a must-win situation right now. Brian
You think
Dable,
so?
Brian Dable, and Joe Shane's jobs depend on it. They have to play like it's a must-win because even if they finish say 7-9, that's not the patience that that's not the direction John Mar had. It's a better record than last year, but that's not enough to keep those fans from gunning down the Georgia game going, wow, we're fourth in the division again. Great. Even with the direction of those teams. So it's it's must this is why we heard the Stafford news. It's must win for them right now. So that's why I think Aaron Rodgers, and if that is they don't get Aaron Rodgers, I think they try to go after Russell Wilson because I think they think that's a better chance for them to win
No shot at Russell
round
Wilson.
two.
No shot at Russell Wilson.
Russell's
I
gonna go elsewhere.
We could talk about the Giants. Well, we'll venture into the Giants now. We'll transition to the Giants now. I actually don't think that. I actually believe it makes more sense because where I sit on Shedeur and what type of pro I think he'll be. I'm, you know, I'm not. I don't want Cam Ward to go to New York either because I think they're far away from winning. It makes more sense to sign a Rodgers for a year with an option for a second, and then draft the developmental quarterback in the second and third round. It may not save your job. I don't think their job's on the hot seat. I don't maybe you can look this up. How much is long does Dable have on his contract? I think he's got another year or two. I know he's got at least one more year. So they're not going to fire him in a lame duck year and pay another coach. Those old school owners don't do that. They'll fire you in the middle of the season, but they won't fire you to begin the season. So I believe he's got at least 2 years left. You get a Rodgers. You said they finished last in the division. If they're competitive, they're 9-8. Playing for a wild card spot all the way to the end of the year. Now 9-8 is it's tough. When the
With
guy
that
you let
schedule
go
too.
is probably going to be the first running back that back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons. Yeah, it's tough. But if you're the Giants, having Barkley wasn't going to change the direction of your franchise. You whiffed on Daniel Jones. Bringing in Rodgers, the Jets, no one can save the Jets, but you bring in a humbled Rodgers, you draft a quarterback. I think the Giants are that far away from being relevant again. Not a championship team, but being relevant again. You're shaking your head no, like, nah.
Their schedule is tough to begin with. They got a last place schedule. You think, oh, it's going easier. The NFC East has to play the AFC West and the
Okay.
NFC North. That Giants team is well. That Giants team, the Bears you expect to be better. You expect the Vikings to be middling. They're not going to be the same Vikings we saw, but they're still going to be decent. The Lions are going to be decent. You got to play everybody in this. You got to play the Eagles and Commanders twice. The Cowboys, they can split. I can see it. I'll always split. Then you got to worry about the gauntlet out west in the AFC West. There's no way that's even if they have Rodgers, that team is just they're set up to fail. They're so set up for.
You
And
think the Raiders? Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
part of me thinks you go 1 year that they finish so bad that maybe Arch Manning says, "Hey, I want to go this way," and tank for a quarterback next year. That's the conspiracy
Hmm.
theory of me going like, maybe this is a design one, but here you go.
That actually makes a lot of sense, and we'll know early because if they take a lineman, then we know that's the goal. If they take a
Travis
lineman,
Hunter.
we know that's the goal. Similar to Ray Rhodes taking Trey Thomas over
Yep.
Randy Moss.
Yep.
That's okay. Yeah, we know we're going this direction next year. We know there's a lot of quarterbacks, so that makes a lot of sense. But either way, I don't believe Dable. I don't think this is Dable's last year. And the general manager, while the hard knocks killed, like it really, really hurt him. It could really would hurt. If you take a step back and you really understand, it's not. I'm saying you don't. I'm not saying you don't understand, but if you try to
Yeah.
understand his plan, keeping Barkley didn't make any sense. It didn't. And, you know, Daniel Jones, they got rid of him as well. So they're kind of excommunicating their demons. I think the Giants are as bad as people. It looks bad, but it's not as bad as what's going on in Dallas. It's not nearly as bad as what's going on in San Francisco. It's not nearly as bad as what's going on in Chicago. You think the Bears are going to be, I think the Bears are going to be disappointing again. I think they're going to be a really disappointing team again. So, but the one thing I like about the Giants is they're not going to draft a quarterback they don't want. We're not hearing them for Cam Ward. We're not hearing them for Shedeur Sanders. Are you hearing anything about them? As we transition into the Shedeur talk.
No, I don't foresee it. The only thing because I think the team to watch, even with the Giants, no matter what, the team to watch is the Titans. And I think they're trying to bilk them, going, you know what? We might, if you really like Shador, you need to give us like three number ones. No Cam or Cam Ward. No quarterback in this draft is worth three number one. Not at
Exactly.
all. So you got. I think the Giant. I personally, I think the Giants stick at three. They get Travis Hunter because they need a. Their secondary was horrible, horrendous. Their secondary was
Mm.
horrendous, and it gives them another explosive player. If you have a certain amount of package plays for him to work with Malik neighbors on that side of the ball, they get experience. Then you get another quarterback in here, whoever it is, to grow with those two, and then you go from there.
If
But yeah,
Travis
I
makes it
just
that hard, that far, I'd be shocked. Look, I'm old enough to remember Pac-Man Jones in Tennessee. I would. I. It's funny you say that, and we're going to talk Shedeur. I actually thought I just assumed Travis was going to either Cleveland or Tennessee. So you're hearing he would make it to three?
I think that's what it is because what that's right now. The Titans are trying to shop their way out of that. They're dangling it a
Mm,
little bit.
mm.
And it's one of those things like if you really want this quarterback, they're going anybody who's 4 through 7, they're willing to fall that back. Anybody wants to go up there and get that, and they get the extra picks in this draft, by all means, they'll do it. The Browns, I'm hearing looking more like quarterback right now. They're the ones I hear looking at quarterback, and that's the one I'm like because Deshaun is just Deshaun, and they know they're bad.
He
So
just put back 135 million.
yep, yeah, he gets that bonus. He gets that bonus, like Sagana bonus. He gets all up front now, but they're looking at quarterback from what I've heard. So now it's if Abdul Carter is going to be up there, even though he's got that foot thing, everybody's worried, he still is considered widely considered really good. So Tennessee, I can see moving back and then hoping to pick somebody up like a lineman. But I personally, I think they stay and take Carter. I think this is all smoke screen. We don't know about his foot. Nobody's going to trade up to get him, and then Carter goes to Tennessee. Then you leave the two quarterbacks there. I think, especially with looking at the way you can do the way everything's going out, Cleveland takes Ward. Sanders is not going to be that high on the list. And we talked about the Giants in the past with their district quarterbacks. I think they go Travis Hunter in that spot. Shador might fall way down to 6, 7, 8. I really think so. And that.
I think Shedeur's going to fall out at the first round.
Ooh,
We could talk about that, but go back real quickly. So you think Hunter goes to three to the a good spot for him? It's a
yep.
good. Know much about him. It's funny. I don't know how he'll be on the field. Off the field, I think he'll be a Hall of Fame player. That makes sense. I think he'll be a guy that comes in, works hard, does everything right, every program, every drill, give you everything that you would want your best player to be. Now, will that translate to wins on the field? Not this year, but will he be? I do worry about his size. Usually, guys that are that, usually guys that are thin, don't really. I'm thinking of like Albert. Geez, I'm dating myself. Albert Lewis from the Kansas.
Oh,
Outside of that, can you remember a cornerback being that thin and lasting, 5, 6 years in the NFL?
not a cornerback, but we were having the same type of conversations with Devontae Smith and thinking how he couldn't go over the middle,
Mm,
how he couldn't do all that stuff. And you look at him now, it's like I think Travis Hunter is just one of those guys where you can kind of overlook that size aspect. Well, you got to worry about him. I think he even then against bigger receivers. Say if Metcalf somehow winds his way over, or deep.
AJ
Say he
Brown.
has to play Debo, AJ Brown and Debo. Say if he has to face those
You
guys,
know what I mean?
he's going to struggle early. But I think he's got enough speed and he's got that ball IQ to try to put himself in a good position and try to get the fight. Those are going to be good matchup to watch. They'll have the edge early. They still have the edge early, but I think he can grow and learn how to position himself good enough, even with that size difference. So
And he's got
I
a tackle. And now that we talk about that, and you think about it more and more, it doesn't make sense if you're trying to win your division because aside from Debo, you got McLaren and who's a bigger receiver. You've got CD Lamb. He's not a bigger receiver. He's not a physical receiver. So that's somebody he wouldn't struggle with. But you got AJ Brown. You mentioned Devontae Smith. Think of the difference. The first thing that comes to mind Devontae Smith is in the biggest games, he played his best ball
mhm.
time in and time out. Like when the pressure was on, and when you think about it, who was the Eagles' leading receiver in the Super Bowl? Devontae Smith. Who was the Eagles' leading receiver last time they were in the Super Bowl? Devontae Smith. Who's the guy that always gets open when they want to make a play? Devontae Smith. You know what I mean? Like they're a 14-2, or excuse me, a 15-2 football team if he doesn't drop the ball against the Commanders for the first down. But think about this. It's a critical moment in the game. You're running a tight play. Who do you go to? Devontae Smith. I'm not saying Travis can't have that impact, but I don't think he can be that player. I think Devontae Smith is a special player. We just don't see how special he is because he's surrounded by other special players. I don't know if Trav. I know Trav. I shouldn't say I know him because I know him personally. He's a special person. I don't know if he's a special player though. And you're going to New York. You got all the other things going on. That's a tough landing spot for him. Now we break it down. I mean, you got Saquon Barkley coming on the edges. You got to tackle one on one. I forget Robinson's first name. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good spot for him. I I really think Tennessee should consider that. Now, I want to go. I want to stay with the Giants. We're not hearing Shedeur Sanders at all for the Giants. They're obviously not going to go there for that quarterback. You said you don't see Shedeur. You think Shedeur lands with the Raiders in Vegas. That's what you're thinking. I'm assuming. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and if he doesn't go that far down, if he doesn't get the Raiders don't pick him, he might be sitting. I know he's not going to be in the green room, but he's going to be sitting around. They're going to keep going back to him and his watch, and you can see him and Dion looking at it. And I can imagine right now if he doesn't go to the Raiders, you'll see you'll see Dion. I'll pretend this is like Shador. So all right, remember this.
No, I don't. I
Remember
don't. I don't think
this.
Dion's going to do that. But I got you. Well, here's an interesting landing spot. So something I just want you to keep an eye on. Two spots: number 11 and number 13. Number 11 is the San Francisco 49ers. They're trying to work out a deal with Brock Purdy, right? They're working out a deal with Brock Purdy. I don't think they'll draft him, but maybe somebody trades up for him at 11. Because the 49ers they just released or they're going planning to release Hargrove. The rumors are they're gonna go after Bosa's brother, Joey Bosa. Gag me with a spoon. They just got rid of Debo. They're trying to get rid of Ayuk. They're looking to go younger, significantly younger. So with youth comes inexperience. With inexperience comes rookie mistakes. So that's fine. They can still, their division's not running away from them. So I think somebody may trade up there. I really think the Dolphins could be high on that too. And that's at 13. I'm not hearing anything with the Dolphins. It wouldn't make sense except who's the Dolphins quarterback right now, Chris?
Tua Tagovailoa, and he's got the head injury issues going on right now. And he's
And
making a
who's
lot of
their
money, and
backup?
I forget the backup.
Exactly. You got to make that face.
Um,
You got to make that face. He's not going to be on the team in July. So, am I looking crazy here? Am I connecting the wrong dots?
Sanders would do well in a Shanahan based system. I really think so because the one thing you look at away, his accuracy, his ball placement, it's a catchable ball, and the timing. All those things lead you believe. Like you look at his tape from that, it really lends himself well to that type of system. 1, 2, 3 out, 1, 2, 3 out. The bootleg part and the motion part, he's not the fastest guy. I think he's elusive enough so that way he can get
Being
about it
kind.
and elusive enough. That's what I'm saying. Elusive enough. Because I'm not taking him in a race, in a foot race with somebody else. Going back, but I think he's good enough so that he can he gets the ball out on time. He gets the ball. He's accurate. He'll get the ball where he needs to go. He can make almost all the throws too. I look at that and I think that would make sense. You put all the motion and everything else that 49ers and the Dolphins would make sense. Mike McDaniel, I just, mm, I worry about it for a Dolphins' sake. I think he'd do better with Shanahan because I don't know if McDaniel lasts next year because I just don't. I think everybody's called for his. At least with Shanahan, he evolves enough. Not saying he does it greatly, but he evolves that system enough. I think everybody's caught on to what McDaniel's thinking and trying to plan ahead and his little tweaks as well too. So that's all I'm like. You get rid of McDaniel, then you got to hire another coach, and that's another system, 2 systems in 2 years. You saw what's going on with Bryce Young. He's looking better, but it takes some time to get ready.
Well, if he doesn't land with the Dolphins, I don't think he makes it. I don't think he goes in the first round.
32.
You think he goes 32?
32.
32.
32 is the last. Is it be important? It'll be the Eagles. No, I'll tell you why. I think he goes, not just 32, but 30. The Chiefs, anywhere in that last 3, 4 picks,
Well, you
because
the
the
last.
ball.
All right. So let's unpack that. So your last five picks are the Lions, the Commanders, the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Eagles.
The reason why I say I think he lands there, I think a team trades up with one of those teams if he's still on the board, because not only do you get the quarterback you want, you get the 5th-year option, and that's key, especially if you get the cost control. If it's a guy that actually works out, you get that. It's pretty much essentially that area. So it's basically a second round pick. sure you're paying extra a little bit more, like in terms of millions, like you may be paying like a million or two, like $1 million, $2 more than what you do in the second round. But I can see if he's still on the board, I don't think he falls that far, but if he falls beyond 7, then you look at those teams. I think somebody trades up because then you get the control. You can, especially at the quarterback position too.
Well, the reason why I don't think the Raiders are a good fit is because the Raiders don't have any weapons. They've got a solid tight end, or they've got a good tight end, but they don't have anything else going on there. And Pete Carroll, he had a lot of success with Russell Wilson. But if you remember, Russell Wilson was the Booby Prize. I'm trying to remember the guy they signed in free agency who didn't work out. And then they wound up giving it Russell Wilson. And the guy they signed in free agency coming from Green Bay, they gave him a boatload of money, didn't work out. And that's how Russell Wilson got his start. Pete isn't a guy that is a he's not going to develop your quarterback. And Chip Kelly and Shedeur Sanders, think about that for a minute.
They might. I think the two names I'd really watch: Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Those are two names I'd watch for the Raiders, especially Lockett for sure. I know he's not Lockett, it's the same guy, but watch Metcalf. That's a guy I
So
can really think they get
Chip
a
Kelly and big wide receivers.
big
Yeah,
people beat big people beat little people.
no, no. It's not. It's yeah. He likes big wide receivers. He likes big players, but his wide receivers, he likes them shifty. He likes them shifty. He likes them, and I think Jeremy Maclin was probably the biggest receiver he had because when he was at Oregon, he liked small, quick guys. When he was at UCLA, he liked small, quick guys. So I just don't think. And if you're Shedeur, do you want to go to Chip Kelly? Do you want to go to Charles Kelly?
He's a Raiders. He wants really wants. He kept going to Raiders. Remember we saw all the pictures with the
Because of Brady.
stadium. And, and I think that's a real big thing. Brady's going to have a lot of influence. And if something
I don't think
happens
he's gonna
with
have that
Sanders,
much.
if it's something with if they go with if it comes down to Chip with Sanders and they hit butt heads that first year, I can see Chip getting the Evo quickly. Tell you that.
But yeah, they're gonna butt heads. But if you can't see, here's the problem: you can't draft a guy and then say, "All right, the offensive coordinator's got to go." Like
No, I
you
mean
know what I mean? And
it'll
so
be after a
it's like
year.
you're gonna butt heads. So now you're gonna have Chip around. Chip's already filled out the skill position spots, that he wants. So you're gonna draft a guy that he doesn't want. That would be very Raider-ish. You know what I mean? But no, and look, I I really see San Fran trading back and grabbing. It just makes so much sense. You mentioned the ball placement you mentioned, but the big thing is they've been drafting quarterbacks. It feels like they've been working with quarterbacks as long back as I can remember, man. We got Garoppolo. We've got who was the guy before Garoppolo? They had a guy before Garoppolo whose name escapes me. But then they got Garoppolo. Then they got then they've got Purdy, but they've also got the guy they drafted who they want to trade into the Cowboys, whose name escapes
Trey
me. I can't remember
Lance. Trey
anybody's name.
Lance.
Trey Lance, yeah. They've run through a roulette of quarterbacks. So I just think Kyle Shanahan, and then if they say they can't get a deal done with Purdy, or it doesn't work out with Purdy, they just got rid of Debo. They're trying to get rid of Ayuk. You know, the tight end's on his last legs. They're probably going to go young. Shador actually makes ones. That's why Miami, because he fits what Miami has right now. He can step in because of his age. He's been playing college football for like 15 years now. He can step in because of his age and get the ball out to those guys. But what you said about McDaniels makes sense, and the two is going to go down again. So what's your backup plan?
And there's something else as well too. That I believe I forget the number. I don't know if it's this year or next year. Tua's got a really big cap number coming up. Extreme. I want to say like 30. So I should look this up. But so I want to say it's like around like 30 some million.
Well, you
Something like
didn't know
it's
I was going to
something
throw
big.
Miami at you. So you
No, but
didn't
still,
know.
I usually try to think like, okay, who's got the cap numbers? Who's got that one too? They have a really big cap. Tua has got a really big cap hit coming up. So it would make sense to go, okay, you get the quarterback if you're concerned about his future health, you're concerned about his ability to lead. I know he and Tyreek have a good relationship. They have a good thing going when he's really going. But you add Shador to that, you can release him after the following year, and you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, you could start building other places, at least for another 3, 4 years after that.
When you have a kid who is, while he's a rookie, he's a mature rookie. He comes into a situation in the division. Please, Patriots, Drake May. Yeah, I'll leave that where that is. The Jets, Jets. I don't even know who their starting quarterback's going to be, and everyone's trying to give Aaron Glenn the benefit of the doubt. Dude, you can change the name of the restaurant 5 million times. If you still got the same owner, i.e., the same chef, you're going to get the same results. So the Jets are going to be what the Jets are going to be. So now you're looking at the Bills and Josh Allen, and you're looking at the Dolphins. That can go back and back. That back can go back and forth. And the Dolphins have something that all three of those teams can't combat. They have that humidity late in the year. They have that heat and humidity late in the year and the beginning. So I think it makes sense. I could be wrong. My gut tells me that Shedeur doesn't get drafted in the first round. It's the NFL screw you Dion movement. And the team that takes him in the second round is going to be doing. I don't see doing Dion a favor but they're going to be doing it based off the fact that he's the best player available, and not because they want Shedeur Sanders. I think you have to want Shedeur Sanders. Go ahead, floor is yours.
I was thinking, how funny would it be? I don't think it happens, but just have fun. Imagine this situation: the Titans get Abdul Carter. Shedeur Sanders go through the first round, doesn't pick, anything happens. Day two opens up. Everybody reassesses their board. But Will Levis, yeah, Sanders is on the board, first pick overall in the second round. If they get Abdul Carter and Shedeur Sanders, if that scenario were to happen, they can close up shop for the rest of the draft. They're like, the Titans are in a good spot right. But I really think somebody's going to jump him. If that was the case, if he's still on the board late, somebody's going to jump him just to take
If he
advantage
makes
of
it out of the
it.
first round, I think that's when they start telling teams, no, we don't want to go there. No, we don't want to go there. I think that's where it really starts to because at that point it's like now you want to go to the best situation where you can be successful. If you remember a few years ago, we got to transition to another topic because we're beating this with a dead horse. But I just want to say, if you remember years ago, there was a guy that dropped in the draft. He was a wide receiver out of Texas Tech, really good player, everybody thought, but he dropped in the draft for some reason. And then he winds up holding out because he said he shouldn't have dropped. And the guy he was getting advice from was Deion Sanders. That player was Michael Crabtree. Remember, Michael Crabtree dropped in the draft. He held out because he said he should have been a top 5 pick. And people kept saying, well, what you should have been isn't where you were, so we're going to pay you where you were. And that was a whole fiasco. And eventually, I don't want to say because Crabtree had a solid pro career, but it affected him. This is going to be a similar situation. Deion and Deion will be a father, be protective or whatever, but he's also going to say Tennessee ain't a good spot for you. No quarterback has had success in Tennessee. None. Absolutely none. So, it ain't an accident. Quickly, the Eagles. Before we chime out, we got about 20 minutes ago. They re-signed Zach Vaughn, excuse me. But the big thing, and we talked about this throughout the year, kept saying when Saquon holds out. Howie must have sensed that too. They redid the deal and gave him like 40 million. Like, talk to me about this deal. What does this mean? What are they're resetting the NFL running back market?
I really want to see. The key for me is how is this deal made out? Because I
Mm,
think you can get a lower bonus, like a lower base. His base is going to always be low. The Eagles do that with low bases, but they lowered a lot in the salary cap. But they also can push it out the voidable years. So we could see something where I remember, was it Malik Jackson? Remember the defensive tackle for you
yeah,
who played the Eagles for 20? They were paying him all the way up, I think, until 2022, 23. So
really.
they just kept they love to and to Jeffrey Lurie's credit, they let Howie Roseman do that because he trusts them and judges them. That's how they get so much of these cash spaces. So if you look at his deal, there's like, and look at a lot of Eagles deals for his big ones, they'll be paying guys like, what's that? I think Devontae's like 20, 30. Like there's so many voidable years for that. It could be, they could still be paying Barkley with this way this deal's done all the way through 2036 for all we know. I could see something like that happen. That's why I'm really keen on seeing what are the parameters of this deal. If it's just something to say, we're going to front load your contract and then just go, okay, that one, then I'm like, what are you doing? But something tells me how he's not doing that. Like,
Well, he
he's
got 40
out there at
million
contract.
guaranteed. So
Yeah,
no matter how it comes, 40 something. I should look it up. I
yeah,
should wrote it
48,
down.
yeah.
Dude. We're in our off season too. You know, he got 40 guaranteed. So he got a significant amount of money guaranteed. Now how they push it out, it's a good point. But even so, he's the first $20 million running back.
What if you look at this, look at 10 years ago. If you look and go, okay, the Eagles actually paid 17 million for a linebacker and 20 million for a running back. Or did somebody else take over? Like
Yeah,
I was going right. No, no, no.
yeah,
But that, it's changed so much. The fact that to his credit, I remember he
yeah,
was talking to us beforehand. If it's a good player at a certain position, he's willing to go for it and willing to give that. So that signing cost you, those two signings cost you Milton Williams and Josh Gray. It just did, in my opinion. So
Well, I'm fine with that.
yeah,
I'm fine with that because they're going to draft the lineman. We know that they're probably going to lose Becton. He'll probably get a big deal. Although, what are you hearing about Becton?
I think it's going to be one. What I'm hearing is he's coming back. From what I've
Okay,
heard, I would if I had to put that, I'd probably put 70% he's coming back. Now the thing's going to be how much money do they have, how that's worked out. Is it going to? You hope he doesn't lowball, but he likes being here. You look at he likes the fact that he likes Stoutland, he likes being around guys. I mean, the fact that he said this is the most fun he's had playing football since high school, he
yeah,
doesn't want to
says a
change
lot.
that thing. So he's back. I just don't know. The thing about it, I just don't know what edge rusher. Because now we learned that Brandon Graham, even if he was coming back, he retore that triceps muscle.
Yeah, it
Nolan
wasn't
Smith
healed.
was a
He shot it
yeah,
up. It wasn't
yeah.
healed.
He's tore it off mostly. Anywho, we got that.
Yeah,
You look at Nolan Smith he's coming off a torn tricep. Bryce Huff. mm. So now that's three, and you have Jalen Hunt, the rookie, who did well in that. So you hope that. Besides that, you look at your edge rusher, you got a big question mark. Huge question mark.
he, well, they ain't got two question marks. You got swallow your pride and bring back Reddick, or you back up. You go all in on Myles Garrett. I you worked with me enough to know I'm not a big go all in free agent guy, but Charles Haley, Deion Sanders, those impact players, what they say, hungry dogs run faster.
Yep.
Those guys wanted to win, had got a little taste of winning in the case of Haley, in the case of Sanders, and they were transcendent players that came in and took those teams to another level. Myles Garrett could do that. And the fact of the matter is, he's not going to change anything you do. Everything remains the same. You're just dropping a better player on the end. That's it. Cleveland's not trying to move him, so we'll see. Quickly, I led into that rumor. What are you hearing? What was the best rumor you were hearing at the combine?
I was there. I didn't get to go, unfortunately. It's bad. But I've
You
been
can't
told.
say that, Chris. You got to let the
I'm being
people think
honest.
you.
I would be honest. But like, see him around there. Oh, that's what it is. I'm being honest. But I have made a lot of calls. Like I've been texting people and everything. The Garrett stuff, and the biggest thing as well too. I've heard this as well with Garrett, with Trey Hendrickson, with all this stuff. You will hear the Eagles have made an inquiry. That's just
Yeah,
how.
that's
And I'm
agent.
expecting right now. And I'm waiting to hear back from somebody. I'm expecting to hear that as well too. Like, have they even reached out for that to see whether they want, and then long term. So do not be surprised if you hear that very soon. The Garrett stuff is real, and the fact that they are going to go after him. I knew another report that had it that saying that they will be willing, especially if they hear Commanders are very close, how he's going to throw the farm in. So that's the case. What's throwing the farm? And two firsts and probably another pick, a couple picks,
Yeah, no, I'm not
and
doing
you
that.
have to extend them, and you have to extend them too.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing
Ugh.
it. Here I come with the frugalness. I'm not doing that.
It's a lot.
I, 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 when I saw he wanted to trade, you know, I felt like, all right, so they've already made contact with two teams. They've already made contact with at least one team that they know is willing to step up and make the deal. And then Cleveland comes out and says they're not going to trade him. So that means Cleveland didn't like the deal that was trying to be shoved down their throat. Pause. But the deal that's trying to be shoved down their throat. So if I'm Garrett, I'm picking the Eagles over the Commanders. That's where I want to go. You're going to get your money. Philly has shown that. The fact that Philly's being so proactive with deals, I didn't think that was the rumor you were going to go, but I knocked this out the park. Seeing the success that Saquon had coming from a bad franchise, I mean, last year may alone have put Saquon in the Hall of Fame. Like when you think about it. And normally, traditionally, two running backs after two. I gotta hurry wrap this up. 2,000 yards back-to-back seasons unlikely. I actually think now he probably will go 2,000 yards with less carries. I'm not giving that much up though for Garrett. It's not worth it. You can find guys that you can find, so old Jerry Westcoat. You can find, 10 dimes over, $1 bill. So if that's the case, you just got to go with the 10 dimes. So quickly, I'm gonna give you the last second. We got about 30 seconds left.
Beware when we talk about this. Beware the relationship that Howie Roseman and Andrew Berry have. That's something to watch because they've over. Not only did not only did he at the form
He gave him a
work for the
start.
Eagles, his brother works for the Eagles currently too. His brother's like a vice president of like football. If it's IQ, sort of like scout, whatever.
Yeah,
Beware of that risk. That's going to go very well. He's going to give it. I think you give it Howie the final
I
chance
think
to
it's
go
a
in this
done
year.
deal. You just said it. You just closed the book. I think it's a done deal. And that's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. He's Chris Franklin. I'm Kwame Fisher Jones. Until next week, we appreciate your time and year. You be easy.